In a plane, somewhat like this one, three heroes embark on a quest simply known as the S.A.M. They gear up, but are they ready for the experience? Welcome back to the S.A.M experience, and we got some real exciting news, boys. Super exciting news. We got our first dislike on a video.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that shows that we are evolving as a channel.
It does.
Because we got haters.
We have one hater. And the best part is it can either be one of our friends or it can just be some random person.
Oh, YouTube doesn't tell you?
YouTube will not tell you who likes and dislikes your video. You can see who subscribed to you by if they have public subscriptions on, which only like 10 of our viewers have public subscription on. But I really hope it's just some random person off the beaten path who clicks the dislike.
Which video got put down?
The newest one, which was 808 and Heartbreak.
Oh, because the special one isn't out yet.
Yeah.
Our
postcard
super
special isn't out,
yeah, super special episode 10.
which is coming out, which I guess would be the following Sunday when this is going to come out.
It'll already be out by the time
Yeah.
people hear this.
Yeah. They're going to love that one.
Oh, it's so special. Probably one of my favorite content
Yeah.
units.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's a
But
solid
this
episode.
is like huge for us, boys.
Honestly, I'm glad we were able to like move somebody's heart to the point where not only did they not just like exit out of our podcast, but they felt the need to leave a dislike.
You know what's crazy about that, Sam? Is it's like multiple steps to dislike a video. Like you got to sign into your YouTube account. You got to minimize the video. You got to move your mouse over and hit that dislike button.
I know.
It's just like, this is huge.
But now, if you had to speculate, like, what did they dislike about this episode? If I had to guess personally, right, there were some interesting sentiments expressed during multiple of our episodes, and it might have been the final straw for this viewer. Now, the sentiments, they mostly come from the M in our S.A.M experience, and they are
Now, what do you mean about sentiments?
anti-gamer sentiments.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's definitely, everybody hates gamers, so we're fine on that front. It's probably the sad boy they disliked, which also comes from the M.
They could have just liked the cake story. Nobody likes the cake story.
Dude, everybody likes the cake story. I'm just upset you didn't eat the cake.
The cake story makes me cringe thinking back to it.
When you see like grocery store cakes, do you like get flashbacks? Like PTSD?
Occasionally.
He will now.
Yeah. Especially when I see that generic ShopRite round cake. That's the one.
Well, I guess we have two options here. We can either go into big depression, or we can have a fun little story about how I burnt off all my hair.
Yeah, let's raise the spirits, get the juices flowing. So, what happened with your hair?
So, you guys know that I'm big meal prepping all the time.
Of course.
It's been discussed.
I make 6 days worth of food in 30 minutes or less, baby. That's how I do it.
That's impressive.
And to achieve this, well, I guess it's not really 30 minutes or less because I have to use the rice cooker. But that is just like you set it and forget it, and then you come back to it like when you have 30 minutes left on the rice cooker, and then you can just bang it all out. But I grill my chicken, and I grill 8 pounds of chicken a week. Sometimes it's 9. It just really depends. And my grill, the actual like ignition button doesn't work anymore, so you have to use a regular lighter to light it up. And it was a hot Sunday last week, and I wasn't thinking, and I turned on the gas and I couldn't get it to actually ignite. So I went inside, I grabbed a lighter, and you know how like when natural gas is spewing, you can see the shadow of it because it's like so heavy when the sun hits it just right.
Yeah, it like distorts A
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So I see that whole thing and I don't think about it, and I just lean forward and I just light the fire on the grill, and it's just like a blazing inferno, and it just swoops up,
Whoa.
and it like gets my face, but luckily it immediately goes out like really quickly, and I look at my arm, and I notice all these little black little specks, and I have not really hairy arms, but like decently hairy arms, um, and I look at all these black little specks, and I go, huh, that's weird. There must have been like a whole bunch of ash in my grill. And I'm like, wow, that smell is horrible. So I go and I wash it off, and I continue to smell that throughout the whole day, and I can't figure out what it is. And it turns out I burnt out basically all the hair, like to a nub, on my right arm, and I burnt the side of my hair off, like my actual hair on my head.
Wait,
The
really?
flames licked that high. Yeah.
That's one way to shave, man.
Like I couldn't really like I have very short hair right now, and I was looking in the mirror and I was like, wow, I wonder why like half the side of my head is all curled up. So now one side is just like millimeters longer than the other side.
Must have been a big fireball.
Oh, dude, it was big. Like it hit my face.
That's gotta
It
be
was crazy.
horrifying. That's gotta be horrifying.
Honestly, I wasn't scared as much as I probably should have been.
Well, probably
'Cause,
just all happened so fast, right? Like,
Yeah, it like all happened within like a fraction of a second.
Yeah, and then the thing dissipates real quick.
Yeah.
I know the smell of burning hair, and it's just nasty. It's
Dude, I don't
It's
it's because
awful.
it's like a protein, right?
Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure the mechanics of it, but I know for a fact that it's rather unpleasant.
Sam, did you take forensic chemistry in high school?
I think I took that in college.
Did you ever burn like samples?
Nah, never. Or
We,
if I did, I don't remember it.
dude, we burnt so many like pieces of fabric and like different variants of fabric to get the smells right. Oh my god, it was horrible, horrible. AJ, I imagine you wouldn't have had to take that class, would you?
What I got forensic chemistry?
Yeah.
No, I got stuck with regular old generic name brand chemistry.
Yo, shout out to name brand chemistry.
I also took AP
You know,
Chem. That was a terrible decision in high school. I only took it because everyone else was, all the cool kids were. It sucked.
I don't think a single person who was considered a cool kid took an AP class.
Well, let me phrase it. It was all the kids who were like all, like on that college like try hard grind where it was like you just got to load up on all the smart classes while you can in order to get ahead.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta load
it's-
up on AB classes so
Dude.
colleges will take you or something.
The worst thing about all that is just how competitive it became. What a pain in the ass. Like school, like, it's one thing to like go to like learn and like genuinely be engaged in the material, but then you add all that competitive stuff and it's like no wonder kids are miserable here. Jesus.
Thankfully, it wasn't quite that bad in my high school, in my grade. It was all
Well, I envy
fairly
you,
chill.
Sam.
Yeah,
I envy you.
should. Pardon me.
I was still eating glue in high school, so like AP classes were not. I was not gonna do that.
So you want to hear a story about AP class?
Sure. What goes on in an AP class? I know like you'd go to them.
They're mostly dumb. A couple of them were all right. A couple of them were a pain in the ass. The one I took like AP Bio, that was pretty easy. You just had like a really big like packet that she put together at the teacher put together at the beginning of the semester, and as long as you got through it and like basically memorized everything in it, like you were fine because then you took like a practice AP test at the end of the semester, I guess. I don't know. I can't really remember how it worked, but that was easy. AP Chem was just really hard, but I had a fun time in the lab section because like she didn't assign us certain like things to do. We basically made up our own experiments. That was cool. But that was the only cool thing about it because the actual chem portion sucked.
Did I ever tell you guys about my French lab partner in college?
Let me
Never did, or I don't think so.
let me hear that.
Okay. I took my first year at actual uni, I had a physics lab, which basically physics in uni is just like an ant is
Hold up,
ant
Max.
weighs like 3 grams. How many stars are in the universe?
Hold up, Max. One question
Yeah.
for you. I've been meaning to
Yeah.
ask you for this, and I'm gonna forget if I don't ask you right now.
Go for
Wh-
it.
What influences you to call college uni?
It's just university.
I understand, but like, I think that's like big in the British hemisphere.
Well, yeah,
Call
it's
it
because I'm
that.
from England.
Oh, I
Yeah.
learned something today.
AJ, I live in England.
You're British.
Whoa, you
Yeah,
can't actually.
dude.
Okay, we gotta bleep that out.
Oh my God, Max! You
We gotta
doxed
bleep that.
yourself again.
Yeah, big bleep. Anyways, so of course I'm just chilling in uni. I'm waiting. We're like in like a meth lab, because every single lab looks like a meth lab. No matter what, the school can have so much funding, yet you're still going to be stuck in a basement where a water heater like is continuously going at 24/7. You can't hear a single thing, and your TA is either so strung out that he can't even teach the class, or doesn't even like speak the same language, which isn't a bad thing. I really had a lot of good TAs that couldn't speak any English, but I'm waiting for people to come in, and eventually a girl sits next to me. I start talking to her, and she's from France. She got a full ride to England U, home of the tea and crumpets, for golf, right? And I'm
Oh.
like, wow, that's really cool. And by the way, very attractive lady.
Hmm.
Very, like, straight off the runway attractive.
Maybe she was a supermodel.
She was very tall. I'm not like a short guy, but I was looking up to her like every time we were talking about the lab or whatever.
Wow.
So one of the things about this lab is we had to do lab reports together, and lab reports were like 10 pages a piece. But her English wasn't great, and my English isn't great. But I would do 8 pages of the lab report, and she would do the last 2 of calculations, right? And that ended up being like 50-50 split, because the calculations were 50, the English half was 50, right? So I would do my half, and then she would like wait until the last minute to start the calcs, or she just wouldn't do the calcs. And she would just be like, hey, print your portion off, and then I'll staple mine to yours, right? And I'd be like, okay, sure, whatever. Every time I would show up, she would staple it and then hand it in, and she wouldn't let me look at it. And of course, you guys know, you don't get your stuff back for like 3 or 4 weeks into the semester.
Yeah.
No, because there's a backlog.
And there's only 10 labs. So you're basically screwed if you screw up one, because you've already turned in 5, and they're all like the first one.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't get any of them back. And I couldn't realize why I wasn't getting any of them back until I noticed one of the girls that sat in front of us, she was reading over her lab report. And I go, hey, where'd you get your lab report at? And she goes, oh, they're in a pile when you first walk in. You just grab your lab report. So I went and checked the pile. Mine wasn't there. So I went and talked to my partner. And she goes, yeah, I have the lab reports. I have all of them. I'm like, what do you mean you have all of them? She's like, yeah, I have all of them in my binder. She was like, can I see them? So she opens up her binder, and all of them are flipped backwards. And you know what that means. All of them are a failing grade. So she hands them to me, and they're like 50s, 40s, 30s, 10s. And by the way, lab is a major part of the actual like grade.
Always is. Always is.
And I'm looking at them, and I'm looking at like my half is, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it's very close to perfect.
There you go.
I worked a lot of hours on it. And her half is like half-ass done. Calculations are done on paper, which you weren't supposed to do. You're supposed to type them all up. Like, they're all handwritten. And half of them are wrong. And they're like done like the day of. And she was just hiding all the grades from me. And I ended up failing physics the first time because my lab grade was so low.
Oh, she fucked you over.
Yeah.
But
Well,
like actually,
I kind of screwed myself over because there was only like 4 grades in the whole entire class, which was the 3 exams and the 1 lab, and they all accumulated up to being like whatever, how many, 25% of your grade.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So like I didn't score very well in the exams because it was like you have an ant to figure out how many stars are in the universe.
Yeah, classic physics.
Yeah, physics. Dude, I hate physics so much.
Yeah.
And I ended up taking the class again, and my partner was named, I think his name was like Jeff, and Jeff was from China.
Okay.
Really cool guy. This was his 8th year in university.
Based.
Switched his major a whole bunch of times, drove a Ferrari,
Oh.
and smoked cigarettes like a mad lad.
Yeah, let's go, Jeff.
Dude, Jeff was great, but Jeff would do a classic maneuver where he had to write the conclusion portion of.
Oh my.
So I wrote 95%, he wrote 5. Because I had already taken a class. So basically it was reword what I've already written.
But was his 5% like competent?
His 5% was like, hey, we finished the lab. Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, but I know your luck, so I have to ask, did he manage to do that successfully?
Well, I would open up the Google Doc at night when he said he was done, and I would look at it, and I wouldn't see any red lines, but I wouldn't read it. So I just figured it was okay. But he wouldn't, when he ever got a red line, he would just hit add to dictionary.
Oh, what a savage move.
So it was all like really bad broken English at the bottom of every like lab report.
He really said, I know better than Microsoft Word. Trust me.
I mean, we didn't do bad, but we got like just torn apart. The worst part was like our lab TA didn't speak like a word of English. I was basically teaching the lab and doing the lab for my class because I had already done the labs already.
Oh my god.
God, I hate labs.
Yeah. They the worst was that they always booked labs for like these like 3-hour long blocks, and you'd always have a professor who, even though the lab itself wouldn't take up that whole block, they insisted on stretching it out and keeping you there the whole time. Oh my god. It would be like, sometimes I ended up with like those labs that started at like 8 o'clock at night.
And they don't end until like freaking 10.
Yeah, and you're walking outside at like 10:45 and you're like, where am I?
Sam, did you take chemistry when you were in the AA?
No, yes, actually, yeah. And so you had to, or I had to drive to like a different campus that was an hour away to actually do my labs.
And the only block they could get us was, because we were in community college, and of course we had to take labs on the actual main campus.
British U.
And it was an hour away.
Yeah, you just like drive to the other side of the country, basically. Like,
it was wild. And the worst part was, Sam, did you have yours late at night?
Oh yeah, of course. That's the only time they had.
Dude, it was so whack. First off, you couldn't find a parking spot anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It lasted until 10 o'clock. You'd have to drive all the way home. You wouldn't actually get home because you had to walk like an hour to get to your car.
Yeah.
Unless you were going to pay $10 for parking. And then you'd get back home at like 12 and you would have a class at like 7 in the morning.
Oh man, that was just
God, it was
horrible.
so scuffed. So scuffed.
And we tried we would carpool, right? To save money. Oh my goodness, man. I carpool with 2 guys. One of them, our boy, we'll call him K, right?
Uh-huh.
That guy was a mad lad. I really had to decide if I felt like coming home alive or if I felt like coming home saving $20 on gas. And I chose the gas every time until like the last class. That guy would drive like a madman. I'm talking like 100 miles an hour through a construction zone. You'd be like, hey man, maybe this is not a good idea. And
Did he drive a car like out of Fast and Furious?
Bro, yes.
Oh
I mean, he was a fun guy, don't get me wrong, but I do want to come home alive.
Dude, that's epic.
So finally, man, we were the 100 miles through a construction zone story. We were going because all the roads leading up to that place, to the main campus, were just permanently under construction, right?
Yeah.
So we're like all these cones everywhere, like places getting funneled into one lane and whatnot. And so there's like a traffic jam up ahead, right? Like everyone is slowing down so they can be funneled into one lane, right? And we are in the lane that it ends, right? And there's like a
Uh-huh.
tiny space, like 3 centimeters wide. It's gonna fit one car, maybe, and that's about to be become inaccessible because the lane ends right there. So this guy just floors it as fast as can be, and we are bro. I swear, if we were a centimeter closer, we would have scraped the car in front or behind us. We almost
Oh my
died
god.
right there. He did not see a problem with it. Like
Dude,
that's probably
imagine
the
the
closest
hassle.
I've ever come to death.
Imagine the hassle of you not getting into that spot, crashing, but then they still making you make up the lab.
That sounds about right.
AJ, did your university have scuffed lab policies?
Yeah. So I took Orgo a bunch of times because it was really hard and I didn't pass it the first time.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
blame you.
that goes for both Orgos, Orgo 1 and 2. I ended up taking So what do you mean by scuff lab policies in particular? Like you talking about like where you have to like show up to every lab or else like you instantly fail?
Yeah, we had stuff like that, but also like if you didn't show up, you had to make it up, and you were at the mercy of the lab. So like if you had a lab on a Friday and you missed, you are automatically failed because there was no
Because
other
there wasn't a second class,
there
right?
wasn't a lab you could like because you couldn't hop in with another class.
Right, the B class.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, that definitely happened. I don't know. I ended up taking one of the Orgos over the summer, so there was only one lab, and I wasn't living at the school at the time because it was the summer.
Yeah.
So just getting to school and getting to that lab was a truly terrifying time because it was like if I missed, I mean it was over. The semester was done right there.
How many summer classes did you guys take?
I ended up taking Orgo. I think that was my sophomore year. I ended up taking Spanish once, and I ended up taking engineering economy
Dude, shout out to
once.
engineering economy. That's the reason why. Oh no, I'm not gonna even go into that.
That class was dumb because the professor had no idea what was going on, and he literally just like gave us test questions out of the textbook. So as long as you like, and the and the tests were open textbook.
That's the way you gotta do it.
Yeah, so it was like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna take the answers out of the textbook that's right in front of me. And then there was a bunch of Brazilian exchange students in my class, and somehow he's like, all right, the one thing you can't do is cheat on this test, okay, guys, don't do that. But it is open textbook, so
Oh.
use discretion. And these kids would get on their phones and start like looking stuff up, and he's like, guys, I'm gonna have to fail you. Didn't even like, dude,
Why?
bro, they literally had a gimme. Everybody in the class had a free pass, and they somehow managed to gaff it. Oh my
Did he
god.
actually fail him?
Yeah, bro, because he
If
was
you're
like,
gonna be on
you
your
guys,
phone, like in the class, like
like right, and they all sat together. It was like 4 or 5, and they all sat together in the front row. And the teacher was like, "You can't do this,
at
guys.
that
I'm
point, they're
sorry."
like daring him to like.
Yo, they were asking for it. They literally said, "Wow, we don't respect your class at all, professor." Even though everyone else in the back was like, "Okay, like we get where this is going," they were just like, "Fuck it, whatever happens, happens."
I had this pretty difficult class. I'm not gonna say what it is because you can figure out what I did or what I do for a living that way.
Max, are you doxing
But
yourself again?
I'm trying not to. I almost doxed
You'll
myself
you'll
earlier,
do it
but
again. You'll do it again. It'll happen again.
yeah, it's gonna happen. But there was this football star that was in our class, and he had to pass the class this go around, or he wouldn't he wouldn't actually graduate.
He wouldn't be a student in good academic standing.
Yeah, I think it was like a 2-part class, but if you got a D in the class, you could finish the second part, and then you had to come back to do the first part, which is mind-blowing because it really builds on each other. But the kid knew nothing about the class, and he would always sit in the front row. He would always be 45 minutes late, and he would always like be eating. And
Got to get the gains.
whenever it was exam time, he would come to the back where I sat because it was one of those giant fishbowl lectures, like where it's like you kind of have like your little professor area at the bottom, and then all the rows like kind of go up a hill or like a slope, I guess.
Yeah, like stadium seating.
Stadium seating, yeah. He would come to the back, and he would always sit next to me no matter what. And
because you were yoked.
Have his, I guess maybe, but he wouldn't talk to me. He would just put his phone in his lap, screen 100% brightness, and he would be working with the phone on, like physically cheating. And I'm sitting there going like, I'm gonna get expelled because of this kid. And the professor would come and stand over him, watch him cheat, and say absolutely nothing.
Do you think the football coach like passed down word to like turn a blind eye and just let this kid through?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Was that the most okay, so here's a question. Was that the most egregious example of cheating you saw?
No.
Really? You saw worse than that?
I saw worse than that. Mainly in math classes. I've seen some crazy stuff in calculus.
College calculus?
Yes, college calculus. I've seen some crazy stuff. Like, I saw people write all the answers on the desk and then put a piece of paper down on the desk because, like, half of our professors didn't have working printers. So they would just hand us loose sheets of paper to do the exams on, and they would write it on the chalkboard, which is the most scuffed thing because half the time you couldn't read their handwriting.
Oh, no.
But then they would just flip the paper over, and it would just write all the answers down they wrote on the desk. And they wouldn't erase it either. They would just go hand it in.
And then leave. With the answers right there.
That's powerful.
I knew people that would go and, like, for, like, the computer classes, would have all their code on a flash drive, put the code up on the screen, and then put another iteration of the program up. And then eventually they would just close out of the blank one and have a perfect code.
That's so dirty.
Yeah, and we were like a class of 3 people, so you could hear everybody's keystrokes. And this person just didn't have any.
Just sitting there pretending to type.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
Sam, what's the craziest cheating you've seen?
Oh man, I forget what the class was. It was some kind of like, it was anthropology, man. Yeah, it was an anthropology class. And this dude that sat was in the front row, right? He was pretty cool, but he was an idiot because he was cheating. He would just, during test, he would put his head down and stare directly at his phone in his lap, and that's how he would take the test. And then he would kind of
many kids did that.
Quarter slide his phone into his pocket when the teacher would walk by. Except he sat in the front row, and it was like right next to the teacher. And actually, because of the way the teacher's podium was set up, the teacher actually couldn't see him that well. But like there was no protection when the teacher got up, but he was either too far gone or too brave to care. Why not both?
Dude, imagine just being that bold.
And then
it's like the Brazilians, man.
the other one. I think I already told this one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I already told this one, dude. But it's a big thing in coding where you'll just find code online and then like turn that code in. And that's what
Chegg
you do.
you.
Yeah,
Chegg
pretty much like Chegg or there are other
Chegg
sites
University.
out there. And like look, when you get out into the real world, honestly, when you get out into the real world in coding, you're gonna be using a lot of code that other people wrote. Like that's just
well, because you got to stand either on the shoulders of those who already wrote the exact code that you need, and there's really no reason to type it out yourself if somebody already did it.
exactly.
Like it's already in existence. Just use it.
But ideally, by that point, you either understand what you're using or like you have the ability to learn more about what you're using. Like when you're in school and you're learning code, you don't know what's going on, so you probably do actually need to start learning how to think like a programmer.
You got to do it from the bottom up because you need to understand the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And you need to understand why things work. It's one thing to just copy and paste, but if you don't know what's going on, you can't even adapt the code for your own use, which is what you're probably copying it for in the first place. You know.
Exactly.
Can I play devil's advocate here?
All right, what's up?
Sure, copying the code to understand it is bad, but if we're talking in a math sense, I don't need to know freaking
proofs,
Laplace's
transforms,
thought process
L'Hôpitals, all that
Yeah,
jazz.
I don't need to know his thought process to understand that if you just plug some numbers into this formula, it'd be working.
Max, I am certain this will be very useful in any career path that you take.
No.
Oh, okay.
I spent goddamn 5 years to get this technical degree that's that is shown to be like very educated, even though I sound like I talk like a third grader, and all I do is physical labor for a job that really shouldn't be doing any physical labor whatsoever.
Think about it. Now you have the brain power to understand that you got gypped.
Yeah. It's fucking ridiculous.
Jeez.
God, I hate school.
You
You
know-
guys want to take it off of school?
You know, first of all, this whole thing started because I was going to tell a story about AP, and I never got to do it. So I'll just tell it real
let's
quick.
hear the story of AP.
I'll just tell it real quick. No, it's actually kind of a bit of a like a what if story
Uh-huh.
because I took, I guess it was honors was the level, right, which was like above like your CP or whatever, CPA. I can't really remember the rankings. Whatever. The point is that there was like class, then there was class plus, then there was AP. Okay, so I was in like the class plus, right, the one step up, and
Okay.
the professor, not the professor, the teacher, she was like cool as hell, but like people didn't get her because she was like kind of edgy and like a little mysterious and stuff like that. But like she was cool, like, and if you were on her good side, like you guys were chill, and like she would just like help you out, and you'd be fine. Anyway, so like yeah, I took the class with all my jackass friends at the time, and they all just like lollygagged through it and bullshitted. But like I took it pretty seriously, and I wrote some pretty good stuff, and like I read all the books and everything. Anyway, so the time comes, and then it's senior year, and I don't take her AP class, and I don't talk to her again, even though we were like pretty like close.
Uh-huh.
That's when I took her junior year, and then I find out like a month in, that like she was like devastated that I didn't take her class. She like loved having me as a student. I found out that like she wanted to like write my college recommendation and everything.
Man.
I was like one of her like top 3 students that she like, because she was very selective with who she gave recommendations to, and I
Uh-huh.
just totally like left her hanging, and I didn't realize it.
Nah, you didn't leave her hanging.
I did, man. I still think
No,
about that.
she gets paid
too.
for it. You didn't leave her hanging.
I mean, no, I mean not like that, Max. Like I didn't screw her over, but like the fact that she was like waiting for me to come and ask her, to like write the recommendation and like take her class and like continue learning
I
with
kind
her.
of feel like she was just trying to make you feel guilty that you didn't take her class.
No, but the thing is, I'm probably making myself guilty because I didn't even talk to her after that. I heard it through like a student, or like one of my friends who like did take the class. I don't know.
Did you ever try to reach out to her after?
I never did, man. Definitely, and that's why I said it's like one of the what if stories. Like I kind of wish I.
I'm gonna just tell you with advice or with future, I guess, experience in this. It never works out.
Max, I didn't.
Teachers always say that they love you, and then they're like, "Hey, you gotta contact me after you graduate," and then you do, and then they just don't reply to your email.
You're absolutely right, and I probably wouldn't have talked to her after, I graduated and went to college. But this was, I didn't take her senior year; I took her junior year. So there was a whole year I just left her hanging. I don't know.
Yeah, you're fine, buddy. Like I wouldn't worry about that.
I'm not. All right. Well, you know what? You know what time it is, Max?
What time is it?
Time for an ad read.
Oh, okay. Well, ad read starts right now. Do you feel robbed because the boys didn't read your postcard? Well, maybe it didn't come in the mail. That's probably because you didn't use Big Bobby's postcard delivery service. It's the only 100% guaranteed that your postcard maybe will be read on the S.A.M experience. Bobby would like to offer all of our special viewers a 13% discount on any postcard shipped. Standard shipping rates apply, and at only a cost of $49.76 a month. You'll enjoy this beautiful shipping service. Now let's get back to the show. Welcome back to the S.A.M experience, and it's a special time of the day. It's mail time. Now, if you are interested in sending us mail, you can send us an electronic postcard through the comment section of this video. We read all the comments, and we would love to see extra postcards being thrown in and out of the comment section. Today, our postcard is from Eugene Satterfield of Yuma, Arizona.
Thank you, Eugene.
Thank you, Eugene. Did you guys want to have any comments for Eugene before we start? What his deep, dark postcard's about?
I don't know anything about Eugene, but I can tell he's a stand-up guy.
Yeah, shout out to Eugene. Well, the postcard reads, I want to know y'all's biggest regret in life.
That's it?
Yep, that's it. What's your biggest regret?
Oh my.
That's heavy.
I know. I told you it was a heavy one.
That's like very open-ended.
I kind of got two.
Well,
I got like one that's like an ongoing regret, and one that like if I think about like because I was thinking about it today, like just going through my emotions because I knew we were gonna talk about it tonight, and I was like, I don't know if I should tell this one because dude, I'm gonna get big sad.
well, I leave it to your discretion, but you're definitely going first because you had time to think about this.
So back in the day,
Oh, is this the heavy one?
we're gonna go heavy.
Oh,
So
really strap in.
Being sober, I have to find ways for vices, and
Max-
I always see like all of my friends that are living a not raw dogged life are they're in relationships most of the time, and that for some reason really gets me jealous, and I've always been fiending for love ever since I was like a little kid. And the one person that I truly had a chance with, that she like loved me for who I was a girl that all of my friends had a crush on. Like at that period of time in my life, like literally everybody I knew had a crush on her.
Do you think it was out of like proximity because everybody just knew her, or was she like just that
There
cool?
was access to a lot of females, but everybody like loved her just because of how great she was.
Damn.
She was like the best. But she liked me. And honestly, this would have been like my first and really my only shot at like true love. And I chose trying to like make sure my friends were happy. And I like had to push her away.
Oh, fuck.
And every day I think, I go like, I know that was the right call because now like my friends don't have to like see her all the time because a lot of them tried and got rejected. And I didn't want them to feel a certain type of way about it.
Right.
But also like I had to take a big one for the team, and I just feel bad because like maybe I broke her heart, and that like really gets me sometimes.
So you said that you really that she really liked you. Did you really like her like a lot, or didn't really have the?
It wasn't until I went through something big, like something like real depressing, and she actually was there, did I realize I really liked her. And then it wasn't until she was gone that I realized that it was my one shot.
Fuck.
Man,
Yeah.
that's heavy.
That's heavy, and that's like my biggest regret in life. When I think about it, I think about how my life would have been so much different if I would have went the other way.
You know, Max, that makes me think back to just when I was younger too. Up until recently, pretty much, I also was guilty of making that mistake. The mistake being choosing the happiness of others over myself, right? Which is exactly what you did. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you could have been happy and you could have made the decision for yourself, but instead you did the selfless thing, or so you thought at the time, and chose the boys and tried to keep that going instead of trying to make yourself happy. Which, and I get it too, because, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but you probably also feel that, like, you try to keep other people happy. Like, you go out of your way to do it. Because I'm
try
pretty
to.
much the same way, or at least I was, like, religiously subscribed to that mindset until recently. But yeah, no, the bottom line is that you Max are ultimately responsible for your own happiness. So
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but like,
I know what you're about to say. Go ahead.
what, like, I know my friends will always be there for me,
Yeah.
Factual.
and I didn't want to burn that bridge.
At the
I felt
same
like I was
time,
gonna burn
at the
that
same
bridge.
time though, if your friends are really always there for you, then how is that burning that bridge? Honestly, if they're really that good friends.
Well,
Dude, Sam just turned my whole argument around and shot me in
well,
the face.
well, hold on. Before we burn it down, I do have a question. How old were you at the time when this went down?
If
Approximately.
I say an age, I think a lot of people would be able
Oh.
to figure out
Well,
exactly who I'm talking about.
Oh,
So
okay. So
we'll
you don't want to.
say
You can be
we'll
like a.
say
Were you a
in the
teen?
range.
Were you a teen? Were you younger? Were you older?
We'll say in the range of 16 to current.
Okay. So you had a little bit of experience under your belt, but you were still potentially pretty young still.
Yeah.
Because again, I look back to that same time period, and look back at, like, some of the decisions I made on stuff, and I'm like, the hell was I thinking? I'm like there was a clear decision I could have made, and I obviously chose the wrong path. Maybe not at the time, and maybe it was a difficult decision, but you look back on it and you're like, if only I knew, you know?
But that's a good practice to have, because if you can look back and know that that was a bad decision, you're only going to become a better decision maker.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
you
part
learn
of growth, right? Like, honestly, bro, the way I've been looking at it, if I can look back 5 years and I'm happy with like every single thing I've done or every decision I've made, probably haven't been growing that much. And oh yeah, that's really it.
Sam, is that why I'm depressed all the time? Because I look back 5 years and I
No.
realize all of it was a mistake.
No, dude.
Not
No,
at all.
because
That means
no way.
that means you are
Yeah,
growing rapidly.
right. You have the capacity for, like, emotional development and growth, Max.
Yeah, I
I
know,
feel like a lot of people in the population simply don't have that,
but wouldn't it be so much easier if you were just oblivious to it all?
Well, Max, you wouldn't be human. Let me tell you that.
I don't know. Some
Dude,
of
I'd
these
be
people
crab.
definitely go through their days oblivious to all the mistakes
Oh,
they've made.
without question, dude.
And
And I don't know how they do it. They got brain damage or something.
some people just go straight through their lives and they just light a kerosene trail behind them and they are oblivious to the flames.
And yet, and I touched on this maybe a couple weeks ago. People still talk to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're still like a member of, like, a friend group, a family, whatever. Like, no matter how egregious or terrible or whatever the shit that they do, they're still there.
Yeah,
You know?
but it doesn't mean that their life is any better, mind you. It just means that they're
Oh, no.
oblivious to it. So,
Of course.
which
Right.
maybe that works for them.
Well, what I'm saying is, Sam, like, you use the analogy of them just going through life burning down everything behind them, right? Like, if I
Yeah.
did that, I think everybody who I burned would like look at me and be like, "Fuck you!" Like, I'm not gonna talk to you anymore. But then I watch people do that exact thing, and they're still around. You know what I mean? It's not, they haven't been, like, ostracized. They're just that guy who burns everything and has, like, meltdowns. But whatever. I don't know.
I guess.
Dude, that's just the caveman.
To
What's
an
up?
extent.
You
Yeah.
guys just described the caveman.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not common. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, Max. It's not. This isn't like, I know maybe like two people like that, right? And to tell
I
you the
know a
truth,
lot.
I'm not really even that close with them anymore. One I don't even talk to anymore. The other one I really try to avoid. But there's just a certain type of person who, like, every action they just go through, like, it just ends up burning you, or I don't know. I guess, yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
So that was my low. That was my most regrettable moment. What do we got from you guys?
That's a tough question.
It's relatively easy for me. You want to go first, AJ?
No, because I don't have the answer.
Oh, okay.
So you're up, Sam.
I got
I gotta think.
I guess 2 regrets really. The first one is the first time I took Calc 2, it was some guy who barely spoke the language, and I was going through a lot at the time, so I was like, I just did not study hard enough for that Calc 2, because it was if you get a teacher who just does not speak the language, you got to teach yourself that class, right?
Yeah.
And the worst
But
is when you
Basically,
get
you
caught
gotta
up.
teach any calculus yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was working at the time. Actually, I probably shouldn't even have been in Calc 2 at that point, to be honest, because it had been like years since I had taken Calc 1. And yeah, so I just been working at the time and took a lot of classes at the same time. So I just did not pass that Calc class, and I really, really should have just. I
Should have
kind
been
of
there
wish
in the
I'd
first
knuckled
place.
down. Yeah, either should have withdrawn from the very beginning or knuckled down harder. Although I didn't really have a lot of room to knuckle down harder.
Was that your first class failing?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Dude, there's so much regret in that first class you
Yep.
fail.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It
It
just
stays with you.
soul crushing,
Stays with you.
especially since you paid for it too.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's the saddest
That's
part.
That's a gut punch.
Sam, I can really see how that's just a major regret. But what did you learn from it?
If I walk in and the teacher doesn't speak the language and I'm taking a lot of classes and I'm working at the same time, then never to just withdraw from that class.
You gotta eject.
Yeah.
Yep. Dude, fast 2 ejector seats, dude.
No. Dude.
Ejectocito, motherfucker.
Yeah, I was just watching that video, Max. The timeline video. So good.
So Sam, if that's ejectocito is your first regret, what's your second regret?
I stand somebody up once. Twice in a row. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Pardon me.
Wait, how did you stand him up?
Yeah, this person invited me over to their house, and I was like, yeah, I'll be there. And then twice in a row, I was like, all right, I'm not making it today.
Was it like a romantic interest or
No, but it wasn't a female friend that I had, but it was not like a romantic thing. We were just good friends, but.
You're in the early stages of
Nah, I was.
a potential.
I don't think either of us were interested in each other romantically, not even as like a potential thing.
But you were friends.
Yeah.
And you
and
stood
she
her up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you give her reasons why you stood her up, or you just were like, I'm not showing up?
I forget, honestly. It's been a while.
Were you feeling like some sort of like you were feeling that it was going to take a direction you weren't comfortable with?
No, I was just out of it both of those days. I was down bad.
Oh shit. You're down bad. Oh no.
Oh no, was it like a school period?
Yeah, it's always a school period, dude. Don't you know?
That's true.
Ugh.
That's the whole thing with school periods is that just you have this like it's sort of like background noise in a way where there's just this like constant like oncoming train for all those years of your life. You know what I mean? Like
Just
no matter
a
what you do,
never-ending
you
slump.
can't. Yeah, and you can never get out of the way of the train because it doesn't stop ever.
And there's always more responsibilities. Always.
You know, you just have no opportunity to like step off the tracks and say, okay, I need a breather. No, it just keeps moving.
And it's like, especially if
Well,
you're
that's
like
our
working at the
fault.
same time or something, because then, like, yeah, like you said, there's never room for a breather. No matter how hard you work, there's always more coming.
You know, and that's the thing because that takes me back when you were talking about your calc class. I took calc like up to like engineering calc, and like I ended up taking probably calc 2 and 3 twice. And what happened was as soon as like you fall behind like week 1 or 2, it's just you get caught up in the tide and you can't catch up because the class keeps moving whether you're like with it or not, and it sucks.
I kind of think that this is actually our fault because we decided to take STEM. I feel like if we weren't in STEM, we would have had so much easier of a time in college.
But then what happens after college?
Bro,
And we just have a job that pays $15,000 less a year.
All right.
And we would have been happy for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, you'd be happy with what you have.
Yep.
Ugh. Or you're like my man BP, who took that route, swapped out of STEM, went for the the easier path, and then still got fucked over in his career.
This is the guy who sells lean, right?
Sells lean. Sure.
Legal lean.
Legal lean.
Yep.
Um,
I don't think it was legal lean. I'm pretty
I
sure it was like he was like a stock guy or something.
no, it's someone else. Someone else.
Okay.
No, my big brain stock friend. He's got all kinds of like things going on in his life. He's doing well for himself.
Yo, shout out to stock guy.
I guess it's my turn.
Sam,
now.
I gotta say, if those are your two biggest regrets, you've been living pretty good.
Yeah, for the most part, I managed to get by in my life without really regretting much, honestly. I mean, I don't
Solid.
know. I usually try to make decisions that I usually think hard before I make big decisions in my life, and yeah.
Well,
And then
the other thing
even
too is
when like even like some things like even when some bad things happen, that kind of a lot of the time I don't even regret it because you just learn so much from that, right? Like,
Dude, 100 bad days make 100 good stories.
oh, excuse me. Sam, that's very noble of you because a lot of people would take the low road and just, instead dwell on their regrets and sort of just live in the failures that they had instead of actually like taking something from it and moving on. A lot of people have difficulty like overcoming like even like small things and they just let it sit on them.
yeah, it takes honestly because people don't really teach you how to like move on past some things. You kind of got to learn it on your own, and some people have difficulty really just getting it. But sometimes, man, it's really important to just keep moving. You just got to keep moving, and you can't sit around. You can't pity yourself. That's the most important thing. You definitely cannot pity yourself.
Agreed.
Dude, pity
You
parties.
gotta take your lumps.
The amount of people in college that I knew at various times, just people all over in in classes and different circles. The amount of people that just love to throw pity parties for themselves
Yeah.
was nuts. I mean, it was unlike I'd ever experienced before. I mean, everybody was just so down, and they loved getting everybody down with them.
Yep.
God, what a miserable existence.
But not even just the optics on it though, bro. You owe it to whoever you are, man. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself for you and you alone to not pity yourself, man. Like
Exactly.
well, so yeah, it looks
Exactly.
pretty miserable, dude. Don't do that.
Straight up.
Anyway, I guess I suppose I should answer the question.
Yeah, what are you regretting?
I guess item A would be just sort of the general way in which I went about like going into college. I think I've mentioned before that like the way I ended up as an engineer initially was that I just sort of like checked it off because it just felt like the next step in school.
Felt
I wasn't
right.
really thinking long term in school. I was sort of playing it day by day and just taking whatever classes I got pushed into,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So then that's basically how I ended up in the same thing at college. And you guys know, once you get to college, like, it is not an easy transition from high school. No matter what anybody tells you, no matter, what anybody says, it's just not. Like, it's a totally different ball game. You're going from the minor leagues up to the majors.
Yeah.
Like, you're in the World Series all of a sudden. And nobody explains any of this to you. They might mention something offhand like, oh, get ready for college. It's the best 4 years of your life or something like that. But that's all you know.
That's if you're not a STEM major.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I know it, man. 7 years, dog. It's, but yeah, just sort of going in with that like blind sort of like assumption that everything was just going to be on track and run about as well as it did in high school, which is that I didn't have to think too hard about it. And that was so far from the truth and just like shook me to my core. And like you said, like the first time like I like, failed a calc class, what a gut punch that was, seeing that on the like the transcript that goes home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like impossible to get rid of that bad grade.
Oh,
It's-
yeah,
it's just
dude.
every year you look at your transcript. Oh, there's the calc class with
And
failure.
it's just like a visible point on your GPA, dude. Like you could get straight A's for like the rest of your time there, or like straight A's and B's, and you will still have a couple points down from that one fail.
Mm-hmm. It just sits with you, man.
They really do just be sitting.
So I guess it's not one specific event, but more like a period of time.
Well,
I kinda-
it's a reasonable regret. I mean, it's not even like a period of time. It's like, yeah, first choice is a regret. like going in blind.
Yeah. I should have been more hands-on with it. You know what I mean? I should have like actually done the research and actually like invested in myself.
Yeah.
Because at the
But
time, I was just like, fuck it. Like, I didn't even want to go to college. I was just like, I'm going just to go because that's what everyone's telling me to do.
if you didn't have anybody to guide you in the first place, you were gonna go in blind. Like
Exactly.
if you didn't
but
have somebody saying, "Hey, you should really be like looking into like X, Y, and Z," and like you should be like, maybe you shouldn't just go straight into the major. Maybe you should just take a couple classes in it and see if you like it. Yada yada yada.
So I think what happened was that because I was in the top of my class, right? Not that I like tried hard or was competitive about it. I just sort of ended up there. Um, I think everybody, all the like counselors and all the teachers and all the like, people in your life sort of just assume you're doing fine. When your grades are good, they just are like, all right, like you're good. You know what I mean? You know what you're doing. This kid doesn't need any help. And then, next thing you know, you're caught up in the tide of things and it just blindsides you.
yeah.
So,
There you
well,
go.
yeah, just to finish that thought, yeah, I used to when I was still in college, up to like a year ago even. I used to look back on that time and just be like so down on myself, just like so upset and so like just full of regret about how I handled it. And like I was like, I used to tell my friends, like I'd be like, guys, like why'd you even talk to me back then? I was like a miserable, lost puppy. I don't even
And what they
know.
say?
And they're like, no, dude, you were awesome. That's no, you were great. Like you were what got me through that year. And I was like, oh really? Oh, cool. But
It's
that's
because they
that's
were
not how I
also the
felt.
same way.
Yeah, that I've also come to realize. Everybody was in the same boat, and you bond over that. Um, but yeah, no, I've recently turned the page on it, and like I no longer think about it in such a negative way anymore. I'm like, yeah, it happened. I got a lot out of it in the end. I really did. Like I wouldn't be where I am today, obviously, without having gone through all that. But just having also taken the time to like sit down and think like all of it through and like sort of process it and sort of like understand why things happened and how I can not allow similar things to happen in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Big time growth. Big time growth. What was
Huge growth, some would say.
what was your question though before I interrupted you or comment?
I think it was just saying that everybody was in that same boat.
Sam,
Uh,
got anything?
no, yeah. I mean, I think sounds like you're handling that pretty well.
Currently, yes. Presently, yes.
Yeah, and
That
that's what's important
2
in the
years
end,
ago,
right?
no. Yeah, yeah. To be where I
Do you
am
ever
now, yeah.
do you ever like look at the paper and go, this wasn't worth it?
What, the college degree?
Yeah.
Considering I don't have a career yet, yes.
Dude, sometimes when I'm working from home, I have it like up on my wall. I have both of them up on my wall. And I just look at them and I go, God, this wasn't worth it.
For what it's worth, I did have an interview today.
Oh, yeah? How'd it go?
I think it went all right. I was actually just so happy to like actually like talk to people because it's tough like applying to jobs like when it's just like Word documents and PDFs and like answering questions on a website
Oh
and shit
yeah.
like that and emails. It's so impersonal. Like you're just like I don't know. It feels awful. Like I feel there's very little motivation to like do it because it doesn't feel like it accomplishes anything. And then I finally got an email back about a week ago from well, I'm not going to dox myself, but a agency that I'm looking to work with, and they hit me with the okay, we really like your stuff. Like let's do a Zoom interview like right off the bat. I was like, oh, real shit. And I finally had that today, and there was three of them. There were three people who took their time out of the day to like sit down and have a conversation with me.
Yeah.
That's good.
It made me feel very like it was a nice boost of confidence because I was like, oh, like people actually like, you know, I don't know, care.
People like
I
are
felt
looking.
wanted. Yeah.
Now, just remember, AJ,
Go ahead, Max.
the one thing that they never taught me, ever, in school and life I had to learn on my own,
Who, the haters?
that you are replaceable and your company does not care about you.
Oh, without question.
Yep.
Without question. And I understand that. In fact, this job is just it's a timed gig, right?
Yeah.
It's like a 6 month contract thing. So I realize that my time there, if I get it, would be limited. Like it's not this isn't like a
But
whole a whole new start.
if you get it, that's some good experience put on that resume.
Yeah.
Exactly, dude.
And you're not locked down either. You just got 6 months in and out, baby.
That's what I'm saying. And you know what the funny thing is? Like everybody I know, like virtually everybody I know in like my age and my class and whatever. So cuz a bunch of my friends from school graduated like 3 years ago, right? Meanwhile, I just did. And every single person I know has already like switched careers, switched jobs, switched firms, switched agencies, spent time like moving around, moving back home, all that shit. So like, yeah, like you're 100% replaceable at any given job. Like you can't get too comfortable because there always might be a new opportunity.
I'm already
Mm.
looking at switching jobs 8 months into my new one.
And I feel like that's the norm though. Like you shouldn't. I
Yeah.
don't think that's too weird. Like I feel like everybody I know is in their job for a little while. They always have that little honeymoon period where they're like in love with it, and then they're like, "Wow, actually, I think I want to do something else."
Our good friend, Evan, fellow podcast listener, told me some wise words. He said the only way to move up is to find another job.
Exactly.
I mean, he's right.
Because
He really
the
is.
unless you like know like your boss is gonna be retiring sometime soon or something, and that and, like the company's already approached you about moving up into that position. For the most part, you're not moving up into another position, and if you are, or like let's say like a yearly raise for example is like what 2 to 5% maybe. You're not getting like a 10% raise
Yeah, no.
for the most
It's
part. For the most part.
Or you
it's a
just
little.
don't get any.
Yeah, or you just don't
Oh,
get any. Or they're like, oh yeah, this year wasn't a good year for us guys. You're not getting a raise
oh my
or
god.
whatever. But the point is like that the 2 to 5% that barely even accounts for inflation. So you're not even really getting a raise half the time, even if you do get a raise. My point being is, meanwhile, switching jobs, you could get like 10 to 50% raise or something crazy like that.
You go in with the right credentials and confidence, and you could just like argue your way up to like like you said, like a 10%, 20% increase in salary right there.
So there's very little
I think I
incentive
do
for you
it.
to not be switching jobs every 2 to 3 years.
Exactly.
And honestly,
You know the
after when I work a job for like a year or two, dude, I get kind of bored of it. I gotta go anyway.
You know what's so
Yeah,
funny
that's the way to do it.
that I think about like a lot? I think about like all those stories, and you guys know what I'm talking about, like old school. I hate to call them out, but boomers who are like,
Shout out to me.
oh yeah, like Mary Ann worked at XYZ for 39 years,
Yeah.
proudly worked at XYZ for 39 years, built a family. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
How? What? That is completely unbelievable that happened like one generation ago. That is just an insane thought to me that somebody was able to pull that off. And that just seemed to be like the way things were, prior to
Yeah.
But
like,
at the same time, a lot of these people were kind of getting fleeced though. Like if you really think
oh,
about it,
without question.
they were like
Without
they worked like
question.
the same job for 30 years, yeah, and they worked it at the same wage that they started with, or they just weren't matching up with inflation at all. And so, like, yeah, if I hired somebody 20 years ago and I've only had to give them a matching inflation raise or maybe a little bit every couple of years, yeah, I'd want to keep them around for that long.
Yeah, but Sam, you have to realize cost of living's higher now.
Yep, exactly.
And you couldn't buy a house out of college.
True.
Well,
Here's a
nowadays you can.
question.
What up?
For somebody who's worked X years at 39, or we worked 39 years at X firm, you wonder how they could like their job.
That's also
Because
true.
I haven't really, like, I worked at one place for 4 years. And after like 2 weeks in, I didn't like it.
Oh,
So I couldn't imagine anybody working a job that they enjoyed. Is that like too cynical to think of?
absolutely not, Max. And I'll tell you why. It's a cultural thing. It's a specifically very American thing, dude. hating your job is like an American trait. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like the first thing they tell you when you come out of, the crib is like, okay, you're going to work really hard and earn everything you do. Nobody tells you, oh, find a career and a passion and like what you do. No, the first thing you're told is, you know, whatever you do, make sure you work really hard, no matter what.
Dude, as somebody who lives across the pond, I wonder how it got to me.
But you really,
I'm just
you think
saying.
it's just like
I'm just
an
saying.
American
know.
thing though, dude? Because think about it. Well,
No, not
let me rephrase
necessarily,
that.
but we value
Let
it.
me
We
rephrase
really, really, really put it up
So
there.
I think part of the thing is it's definitely an American thing, right? But it's more like there's also the American thing of ideally you'd want to find your passion or whatever, and you'd want to find a job that you really love, right? Like a lot of countries they don't even have that concept, man.
No, well,
So
yes,
like
that's yeah.
let's talk about China for example, right? I'm gonna
Uh-oh.
make this
That's a pivot.
really
The
very
mouse is gonna
simplistic.
destroy
This is
us.
gonna be super simplistic.
Sam, are you gonna get us banned in the Southeast Asia?
Uh, No,
Nah,
no,
fuck
no.
it. Free
This is
Hong
gonna
Kong.
this is
Let's
gonna
do this,
whoa,
fam.
hang on, wait. That this man doesn't speak for all of us.
Yo,
We
we got free
Go
Hong
ahead,
Kong.
go ahead, Max.
um
You got takes.
one country
Yeah, free
policy.
Hong Kong, baby. Yo, fuck the mouse.
Oh, well, we love mice. We love mice of all forms and sizes.
Nah, dude, Disney. Nah, you ain't it.
We definitely we
Free
love
Hong
lawyers
Kong.
too. We love lawyers. We don't like talking to them, but we love lawyers.
Sam, go
They
ahead.
can't sue us for saying fuck Disney.
Sam, go ahead.
All right. So
Sam,
let's
go
move
ahead.
into our conversation now. So China, right? We're gonna
So
we're
China,
gonna
yes,
divide
China.
China into two working classes. It's way more than that, but we don't care to make the distinction. So on one side, right, you have the man who wakes up. He goes into this factory for 17-hour days with no safety conditions whatsoever, and he doesn't complain because why doesn't he complain? A lot of them don't complain because they see that hard work is necessary. They see it as just the way things are, right? Because they don't even have. A lot of them, the idea that they're gonna find a job that they love and work at for the rest of their life doesn't even exist to them. And so they
The concept is completely
they see
not in their
that job as
vocabulary.
they see their job like, and it's they know it's hard. They know it's not the best, but the idea of having finding that passion was never really even on the table. They just do what they have to do to survive. And on the flip side, right, you also have people who are like super rich, who yeah, who just are trying to climb the corporate ladder or whatever, right? And with those guys,
You talking about
I'm
here
talking about
in
I'm talking
America?
about China. I'm talking about China.
China, got
And
it.
once again, the idea usually for them, from what I understand, and hey, any of our Chinese listeners, man, correct me if I'm wrong, but here the idea of what you do or how much money you're making being connected to your status and your self-worth is definitely a thing, but it's even more so over there in China, right? So once again, the idea of finding your passion really isn't a thing compared to if you're on the richer side of things, you're just trying to what you do is directly tied to your self-worth too. Yeah, that's it really. My point is, I think it's because we have the juxtaposition between working hard and finding your passion here that we can even hate our jobs as much as we do. Because there's also the idea that
Whoa.
anybody can make it, and it's not so much an idea everywhere else. But,
Man, and I thought my bits, I had the most philosophical bits on this. But Sam
I'm,
just blew every argument I ever had out of the water.
dude, I'm blown fucking away.
That's profound,
That's like,
Sam. It's profound.
I'm here.
I don't know if I could ever switch my ideologies though. Like
Regarding
switch
what?
my ideology where like I go into work and say this is
Oh yeah,
necessary.
listen, I'm not saying that you should even at all. I
Yeah.
I just think look, everyone does what they have to do to survive, right? And I think I think it's because we are in America, we are in a position where we can dream the way that we do. Like I'm not gonna tell people to stop dreaming. Uh,
Sam, are you saying the American dream is alive? Alive and well?
I'm not saying the American dream is alive and well, but I am saying we need it to be alive.
It's
I'm
possible.
saying that it's not. I'm saying that while the American dream might not be all it's cracked up to be, there is something there, and we can find something in that dream. Or we should at least always strive to find something in that dream, you know?
So we may or may not have strayed from the path over time, yet the overall idea, the core beliefs are still intact.
Yeah, I'm saying that the core really, even if we can't, you know, like the idea that everyone can become like a CEO or that everyone is going to be in a position where they can chase their dream, that's definitely not true. You know, you got to stick to reality. At the same time, I think there is some value in chasing that dream. Like
Yeah, I think if you're not chasing your dream, you're dead. That's just generally like if you're not going for it.
You just
Like I know like you should chase your dream, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And you just gotta accept the fact that it doesn't work out.
I think you definitely gotta be chasing some form of happiness, you know, like or rather, I think that not everyone's dream needs to be, say, finding a dream job. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Like that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like if you're not like actively pursuing, like if your dream is to like actually own a house.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's like that could be a dream that somebody has.
It's achievable. Anybody
like I
in
have a
theory
dream
could
to have a
achieve it.
house with a pool.
Ooh.
That's just a
Pools.
small dream. That's not like my number one dream.
Well, pools are sick, so.
My small dream has definitely always been to have a friend who has a house with a pool. I don't want to take care of the pool myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's solid.
Sam said, "Fuck the maintenance."
So we're already at that dream now, but Max, I need you to also help me fulfill that dream too.
Sam, you gonna come across the pond?
I will. I will indeed. Anytime I'm over in Europe, dude, I will come by and visit that pool.
Do they have
They
pools
do
in
with
Europe?
Fish and chip.
If they
Yeah, they
if
have
they
pools in
don't,
Europe.
Max will build
I
one.
don't know. Oh my god.
Yeah, dude. It's not that. It's really not that hard, dude. I've seen 1,000 Indian kids build them out of like mud and water. Have you guys watched those videos? They're so fun.
What kind of videos are these exactly? Like just
Yeah.
Like they're primitive survival videos where these kids go
Oh,
out
yeah.
to like they're like in like I don't know if they're even in third world countries. I think they're just going out into like the wilderness and they're like building like these crazy like homes that are like multi-level and they're doing it all out of like sticks and mud.
yeah, they're building like
they
advanced
build, like-
civilization from just nothing out in the middle of nowhere.
And it's just like it's just so peaceful because they also don't say a single word. So like literally anybody can pick up that video and watch it and just be like enthralled.
There's no language barrier.
Yeah, there's no language. It's awesome. I spent so many hours like after a long day at school sipping on a boomer juice on my couch watching primitive survival videos with my roommates. It was so good. So good. But let's go back for a second here. So most of us don't like our job. What would be a realistic, I'm talking realistic dream job that you think that if you did, you would be happy?
Now, when you say,
I'm talking realistic. I'm talking like a day-to-day job.
oh, like so this thing could actually exist as a job.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's hard. For me,
I think mine would be like a firefighter.
Yo. Real shit,
I think-
Max?
I think I can get on a calendar. I think my body's at that point.
Oh. Max,
But
you-
no,
come
like
on.
real shit. Like I think it'd be fun. Like I know we have friends that are in the emergency services, and they always say that like firefighters are like not the brightest, but
They're the chillest, though,
they are very chill. Like
They're-
I think I would fit in pretty well.
Max, because if you know, well, never mind. I'll leave that thought to myself. But I would say, what's stopping you? Because I know a guy, the old president of the fraternity. He also had he's very similar to you in that like he's the same career as you are, right? The same
Yeah.
not necessarily job, but like the same like type thing. And he basically went out into the world and like realized like, oh, now I'm just doing a ton of like physical labor, even though I have a higher degree.
Yeah,
Right?
it's whack.
It's whack. But he's like, I'm also he's a big guy and he's in pretty good shape. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to become a volunteer firefighter. So Max, I think it might be your destiny.
Now here's where I gotta kill your darlings here, AJ.
Oh no.
I really don't have time to be a volunteer firefighter right now,
See,
especially with the project going on, with the experience, with the job, with the bodybuilding thing.
well, let me ask you another question, Max.
Yeah.
Where would you see that, like, in terms of priority level? Would you say that's something that you would be willing to put other things in your life aside for? Because it seems like,
Yeah, my actual job.
well, yeah, well, unfortunately, you can't get paid while you're like training and like becoming a
Well,
firefighter.
there's places in my state that aren't volunteer.
Yeah, but those are really hard
Like
to get into.
Yeah, they are very hard
And
to get
you
into.
the
gotta
volunteer
you gotta like know
firefighters are
someone.
fighting over the. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I honestly,
So
it's always just a side thought in my head.
you do know some people though, Max.
I do.
You do have you could always reach out to them. No, dude.
I
Let me tell
know,
you. No,
but
let me tell you
it's
something.
not my dream. It's just like
Yeah.
a job that I think would be cool.
Oh, I see. It's
Yeah,
not.
it's
It's
not
not like
like
the overall driving force in your life. It's
no,
just like
there's
instead of
bigger
doing X,
things.
I would rather
Yeah,
do this.
instead of being an engineer, I think it would be cool. Oh, I just doxed myself. Ah, it doesn't matter.
Well, they already know you're
Instead
an
of
engineer, bro.
being instead of being an engineer, I would rather like be a firefighter. Just try being a firefighter. Like if that was something that was like achievable, like very easily accessible, I think I probably would have went to school for like that if I could. I don't even think you go to school to be a professional firefighter. You go
Max,
to fire school,
may I ask you something?
but
You ever read like somebody? Okay, you ever like find somebody and you're like, wow, this guy's like cool. So then you like research them and you like look at their Wikipedia and stuff, and you find out like, oh, this person spent like 3 years as like, living on a boat out in this like South China Sea, and then they came back to the U.S. and were a firefighter for 5 years, and then they decided to fly like bush planes in Africa.
yeah,
You know what I'm
all the
talking
time.
about?
Yeah.
See, like, I feel like those are like the kind of people that I aspire to be. Where like, you're not necessarily like locked into one thing, but you're sort of just like, well-rounded. You have all these like interesting like
Stories.
yeah, sort of like background things that all sort of like, build who you are more or less. You know what I mean? And like the fact that like they've switched things have obviously means like you've tried stuff in the past and it hasn't worked, but you can't know something doesn't work for you
Yeah.
until you try it, right?
Or they just did it while it worked, and once it started working for them, they moved on.
Right? And that ties in very nicely to what you said before, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can respect that lifestyle. It's not for everyone, but for
Oh,
those people
no.
who are able to or want to go out and just do a whole bunch of different things, as they like them and then move on. I really respect it.
So we get in a sailboat and we're gonna go out into the South China Sea.
I mean,
I'm not really a boat person,
I'm
but
like if you said you had the boat like already in the water, Max, I'd probably say yes.
Uh,
But I feel like there's a lot of work to get to that point, and I wouldn't be willing to do the preparation.
I've already painted the sign that says "Free Hong Kong." So,
Oh, Max, I didn't know this was a political podcast now.
dude, we're just saying the mouse he ain't it.
uh,
That's all we're
that
saying.
Max does not speak
We,
for
we have
everyone.
we have two things that we truly believe in. All three of us strictly believe in. We follow it like we're samurais. This is our Bushido
The
code,
Bushido Code.
which is we hate gamers and we're trying to free Hong Kong.
Now, when you say all three of
Max,
us, do you mean like you yourself and you? I think.
I'm talking about the whole Sam equation, dude. Sam, AJ, Max, baby.
Okay.
it's fine, Sam. This video's already
I
demonetized.
need to call our sponsors.
The sponsors have already jumped ship.
We could save
No,
them.
Bob, he's still riding
Yo.
strong. He sent me a very, very heavily worded email about my last gamer post.
Oh,
But all I'm saying is we just don't like gamers.
Isn't Bobby's wife a gamer?
Yeah, I mean that's why he started the gamer goo.
Yeah.
product that was in like ad read 6.
See, Bobby's the type of guy I'm talking about. He's a Renaissance man.
Yeah, dude.
He's got layers like an onion.
He went from foot powder. He went from flipping foot powder to flipping crayfish powder to sending people Survivor, 40 seasons to Survivor. It's crazy.
Does he know Jones?
I don't know. Maybe.
Jones from Jones Good Ass Barbecue and Foot Massage.
Probably competitors actually.
Yo. They seem like the same type of guy.
What would your guys' jobs be? Realistic job. It can't be what you're doing now.
Professional anarchist, burning the government to the ground.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm just kidding. Or
They had an event a couple of months ago that you would have been right at home at.
Yeah, I think it was like January 6th or something.
Yeah, that was real neat, wasn't it?
Were you there?
Was I?
Should
Wait, we don't dox
Wait,
ourselves.
AJ, you probably shouldn't say you were there.
Yeah, because we don't dox ourselves on this podcast.
We
right?
don't do that. Dude, the one FBI agent's gonna be like looking into this, but we were actually talking about the muffin meat on that. It just happened to fall on January 6th.
Max, are you saying are you acquainted with your personal FBI agent?
Yeah, dude. His name's Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck seems like a cool dude.
His name's Chuck Berry.
Chuck
What
Berry.
a
Where do I know that
Chad.
name from? Is he a boxer?
Well, Chuck was a TV show, and Barry was also a TV show. I just threw them together.
Huh.
Pretty much very similar concepts too, I think.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you're a professional anarchist.
No,
Solid.
that was a joke answer. Or was it? No. In all seriousness, I still don't have that question figured out yet. So
I could see you being a park ranger.
yeah, sort of like the Ron Swanson type deal.
You could do that now. You don't even need. You just need a degree to be a park ranger. You don't even need a degree in anything special.
Yo, catch me out in Montana.
That'd be cool.
Cool as shit. Not sure anyone would talk to me anymore because I'd be so off the grid, but you know.
We'll just get solar panels, and then the Elon satellites will give you
Oh
internet.
no, no way. I'm out.
You're out.
Yeah,
You hate solar,
dude. The Muskrat's big cringe.
dude. Shout out to Saturday Night Live. Sam, what would your job be?
Hey, his bit about Wario was very racist against Italians.
Dude, Mamma Mia.
I'm
I
gonna
didn't
say
even
it.
see it, so I don't know.
Well, you didn't see the memes? A lot of memes.
No.
Come on.
AJ, I'm a boomer,
on.
dude. I don't know how to even get on the internet.
So Max, what are you telling me? I have to hand deliver you memes, or you don't see them?
Sure. Yeah. If you don't send them to me, I don't see them. Or
Good
if
to
they're
know.
not in our group chat, I don't see them. I barely see any of the ones in our group chat.
Anyway, Sam,
So,
where you at?
Max, I gotta agree with you. I don't see a lot of memes in the group chat either, but all right. So dream job, right? Or not really dream job, but job. I realized I was working at the airport. I definitely need a job where I'm doing something different every day. So one of the most enjoyable things about the airport, despite the fact that we had no like existent management, and everything there was like, there were definitely some things that were happening that were totally against the law, against every policy, against every regulation, unsafe to all of the passengers on our planes. But
This is just like every job.
yeah, of course.
Sam, are you doxing the airline?
No, because this could be any airline, and that's the best part.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, the airline, the best thing about it, dude, was doing a different job every day. Like, you had some things that had to happen every day, but you were doing a different part of it every day, and you just had complete control over what you were doing. You didn't have anyone breathing down your neck. Now, that was partially the fact that our management did not exist, but the point is you didn't have anybody breathing down your neck, nobody even checking up on you, really. And I realized my dream job would just kind of be like that, you know? I know what I have to do. I'm doing something different every day, and I'm taking care of business. And I'm thinking,
And it's not a camera watching you as you do your job.
or if there are cameras, no one's watching the cameras. Ooh.
There you go.
Dang, it's epic.
So I realized maybe something like not really park ranger, but being involved with wildlife conservation,
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Yo.
Or maybe being an inspector. Being an inspector would be cool. An inspector for what? I have not decided. Not really putting too much thought into it. But if I'm just going out and like examining sites and handing out permits or something like that, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, you get
So-
to shut
Yeah.
shut
So
jobs down.
one of my
So you like
one of my boys, right? He handles like water. Well, I forget exactly what it was, but he works for a city's water. They just like do water inspections, right? So they go out to different like plants or different facilities or whatever, and
Oh, he's a water quality
yeah,
inspector.
yeah, essentially that. But he makes sure like if a company is building their company or building facility on the water, making sure that they are in line with like all the different just statutes and policies that that state or town has. So one of my boys does, and it sounds like the kind of thing I would like to do.
Oh,
do you like
See, I wouldn't
traveling,
picture
Sam?
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, I don't mind travel at all.
dude, travel's so sick when you get paid for
Yeah,
it.
Mm.
I mean,
When you don't get paid for it, it's not fun. That's like a solid answer too, because like it's pretty easy to become an inspector.
yeah. Well, I wouldn't know.
What a wild
I wouldn't
trip
know how
this
easy it
episode's
is,
been.
but
Yeah, definitely. I think we've entered our second era, Max.
Yeah,
Yeah, the first 10 episodes were like, the baby steps, but I think we evolved today. We had enough experience, dude.
oh,
yeah, dude. We went in and we went hard, and we also didn't do any of the topics that we planned out to do,
Oh.
and we also didn't do a caveman, but that is okay.
we did do one topic, the one dislike.
Dude, the one dislike,
I
fire.
know.
We are really
We truly
chugging.
have evolved.
We also
And
had the
now-
postcard.
We also have the postcard. That's two, and also burning my arm hair off. That was 3.
Yeah.
We're
So
on
really,
fire,
we did a good
dude.
job.
No pun
But you know
intended,
what-
Max. I'm sorry you got burned. I am sorry about that. That's horrible.
No, dude, that was awesome. That was a fun experience.
It was a learning experience.
Yeah. But now we got 3. But what's 3 things we learned today?
Oh, you snuck it in there.
I snuck
I
it
like
in.
it, dude.
So Sam, you're first.
All right. I learned that certain members of this group are a danger to our sponsors, and they need to be closely watched.
Yeah, AJ.
Whoa. I know where I stand. I will not bow.
Yeah, I'll call our sponsors again after this. Now, AJ.
Yeah, AJ, what do you got?
What do you got, AJ?
I learned that Sam is one of the great thinkers of our time.
I can't deny it.
He's got some very, very profound things to say on a variety of topics that I found quite inspiring today. So
Now,
shout out to
I'm
Sam.
going to piggyback off of AJ's. And what I'm going to say is what I learned today is Sam is shilling for China and the mouse. Thank you. Have a good night.
Hey, no comment.